good, y'all, man? We back with another video, man. How y'all doing? Feel doing great today. Today we got this child offender Cries after his life sentence. We finna get into the video and see what happened. Yeah, bro. Get the video.
We despise anyone who would as much as poke a living soul, but those who hurt children, they surely deserve a special place in hell. Let's watch. Number 5. Christopher Branham. A San Antonio man is off to prison for 35 years for physically misconducting a 7-year-old boy. The attack happened in 2018 in the bathroom of a theater where the boy and his family had gone to see a movie. In a sentencing hearing, 23-year-old Christopher Branham pleaded no contest in exchange for a max 35 years in prison. The boy's family says he's never been the same ever since that night. The attack happened on May 19, 2018. The child, his parents, and his 4 siblings were attending a movie, and he returned from the restroom and told his mother of the senseless physical misconduct attack. Brandon pleaded no contest to physical hurt charges as part of a plea agreement that called for a maximum sentence of 35.
I just still do not get it though. Like it might sound like repetitive and ass. Like, why do people like picking on like little boys and little girls? Like, I don't understand this. I'm like, what? Like, it's all weird, bro.
Years in prison. I just like to say I'm very sorry, and if I could take it back, I would, Branham said during the hearing.
Just like to say I'm very sorry. If I could take it back, I would.
Branham's lawyer, Robert Gebbia, said his client lacked impulse control. He asked Harrell to sentence Branham to probation. He also has poor impulse control and uses drugs and alcohol.
He has poor impulse control. He uses drugs, he uses alcohol. He is just a sexual predator, Your Honor.
I see no reason to do anything other than to order that you serve 35 years, Harrell said to Branham as he signed off on the plea agreement.
Dang, bro.
I see no reason to do anything other than order that you serve the 35 years.
Number 4, Eric Pendlin. 37-year-old
Pendlin
was sentenced to 11 years on 2 separate charges of endangering children. Prosecutors say it was on March 1, 2017, when Pendlin shook his son, who was 3 months old at the time, so hard that it caused him to go deaf and blind.
Administer his pain medications for the rest of his life. Eric will rely on others to bathe him, dress him, change his diapers, feed him.
Prosecutors.
That's not crazy. He messed the man up so bad he can't even like do his own thing by himself. He needs somebody to wash him, give him something to eat. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's he deserves life though, for real though. He deserves life for real. Oh, yeah. Nah, he deserves life for real though. For real.
Asked Judge Anthony D'Onofrio to impose the maximum sentence possible because of the extent of the boy's injuries. He ultimately survived after 2.5 months in the hospital and at least 3 surgeries. The boy will now have to be on a feeding tube for the rest of his life and is not expected ever to walk.
He was gravely ill. He had bleeding on his brain, mainly on the left side of his brain. There was some blood between the 2 halves of his brain.
This little boy is never going to have the life that he should have had, but for what the defendant did, McLaughlin said.
I would submit to the court that this entire record is absolutely devoid of any remorse by the defendant.
Speaking on his own behalf,
Pendlin
argued his supposed innocence in the case in front of the judge. Then, taking the stand for her adoptive son, Sharon Lawson spoke on the victim's behalf, saying that the child had been handed a life sentence.
That at the end of the day, even though he lost everything, he still deserved it. Even though he will not have a normal life, he can have a happy life. That's all I can wish.
As Judge D'Onofrio handed out the 11-year sentence, Pendlin burst out in anger, saying it was bull and that he didn't do anything wrong.
Man. I didn't do anything wrong, man.
Number 3, Terry J. McFadden.
What you mean, bro? The man can't even do nothing.
Heights man was sentenced to 22 years in prison for physically misconducting 2 girls at a daycare that he and his wife operated in their home. Terry J. McFadden pleaded guilty in January when they revealed.
Wait, hold on, bro. They run a daycare inside their own home. Like what, bro? I'm not sending my child to nobody's house. And they run a daycare at their own house unless I completely been on you since my baby came out the womb. You know what I'm saying? Like your house, man. It's already a red flag, right?
Their sad stories to their parents in April 2019. The sentence was imposed by Franklin County Common Pleas Judge Julie M. Lynch after the victim's parents delivered lengthy statements in court. "You can't even know what damage you've done," said Lynch. who described the victims as one step from being babies.
I can't believe that. I think it's not true.
The incidents consisted of McFadden
Nah, it's
repeatedly
true.
touching the girls inappropriately, the lawsuit states.
I'm going to tell you something, Mr. McFadden. There's no free rapes in my courtroom.
Admitted to the acts when interviewed by Grandview Heights police.
Man, hell,
McFadden is
bro.
not eligible for early release.
Just look at that
If he lives
man,
long
bro.
enough to be released from prison, he will be required to register as an offender every 90 days for the rest of his life.
I'm sending you to prison for 11 years. On count 4, I'm sending you to prison for 11 years. They will be consecutive to each other for a total of 22 years.
Number 2, Dion Dre Bonner. The man convicted for physically misconducting and robbing 3 female teenagers at gunpoint at a Cleveland RTA station. This man physically assaulted 3 teenagers, said
What?
Prosecutor O'Malley. I commend Judge Collier Williams for the sentence she imposed.
The facts of this case are considerably disturbing to me. Extremely
Nah, for real,
disturbing.
bro.
Of the 3
Robbing
women
3?
who were 17 and 18
Robbing
years
3
old
women?
at the time, some of them they were raped more than one time.
Charges
What?
against Bonner include 5 counts of physical hurt
They've
and
been
1
raped more
count
than
of
one
aggravated
time.
robbery. Bonner, 34, approached the 3 teens and pulled out a handgun at the Rapid Station at the intersection of Shaker Boulevard and East 116th Street on November 4, 2017.
Only thing I remember is just going back to where I see back. I wish I could remember it I wish I would have knew what was going on. I wouldn't even have been there.
The prosecutor's office say he forced the teenagers to the station's platform and physically misconducted each.
So he's saying he don't even know what's going on. Like he basically act like he don't know what's going on. He just there. Too mean, man.
Each of the victims while pointing the gun at the other victims, forcing them to watch. The teenagers flagged down a nearby Cleveland police car, who then started to pursue Bonner. According to the prosecutor, Bonner, who was hiding in bushes along Shaker Boulevard, was found and arrested. Number 1, John Ackland. A Texas man was
he look like he do
extradited
something
to
crazy.
Columbia County and arrested after 2 people came forward and accused him of physically misconducting them as children 10 years back. The 2 victims told troopers in August 2017 that they had been victims of physical misconduct when they were both under the age of 11, State Police spokesman Aaron Hicks said.
The first one being coercive sexual conduct against a child, various counts of child sex abuse.
And interviewed both people with a child advocate and psychologist present, Hicks said. Investigators worked with the Texas Department of Public Safety on the investigation, and Texas Rangers in Bandera County, near San Antonio, arrested John Ackland. The Bandera, Texas resident was charged with felony criminal physical act upon his arrival.
The Texas Ranger and the special investigator worked in tandem with our New York State Police to bring this matter to justice.
Ackland was arraigned in Livingston Town Court and then taken to the county jail without bail. Later, the same former Livingston man who was convicted of physically misconducting the 2 children was sentenced to 355 years in state prison, according to the Columbia County prosecutor.
Like how often does this happen? Like people will be like messing with little babies and little kids and little, you feel me? Like what type of mind? What be in their mind, bro? Like we need to like, feel me? Like see what be going on in their brain. Like what made them get a reason to do that? Like what?
Because he should never be let out to harm any other children. And I hope that he's sentenced to the rest of his life in prison.
John Ackland, 56, of Bandera, Texas, formerly of Livingston, was sentenced by Columbia County Court Judge Jonathan D. Nichols to the maximum sentence on each of the 16 counts of physically misconducting 2 children. Authorities have said the children were under 11 at the time of the attacks. After Ackland moved to Texas, the hurt ended, according to state police. Several other counts were dismissed, having expired under the statute of limitations. Ackland was taken into custody in Texas on October 25, 2018, and extradited to New York on November 8, state police said at the time. In the press release, the district attorney praised the survivors, who suffered unimaginably, but courageously confronted their culprit in open court.
That's not crazy, man. Like, what be giving these people the reason to do stuff like this? Like, I don't understand, bro. Like, I don't know, man. Basically, all of them got like consecutive license. Well, not consecutive license, but like they all got life sentences basically. Hope you guys like the video, man. See y'all tomorrow, bro.